Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why we stay trapped in the same cycles, repeating the same complaints, nursing the same wounds? There is a strange comfort in problems. They give the mind something to chew on, something to cling to, when the silence of possibility feels too vast. But listen closely. The secret is not to wrestle endlessly with your problems, but to slip out of their grip entirely. If you find yourself here today restless, unsatisfied, feeling stuck, stay until the last word of this talk, because what you need is not more advice on how to dissect your burdens, but a key to walk straight past them. This is not just another motivation. It's a reminder of the quiet power you hold to turn your mind from the weight of what's wrong to the clarity of what you can do right now. Problems multiply because we feed them with our attention. The more you stare at the monster under your bed, the bigger it grows. But have you ever noticed? The moment you switch on the light, it's gone. Solutions are that light. They are not always grand revelations. They are small, practical movements. A single phone call, a conversation, a step outside, a line written in a notebook. The mind wants the whole map, but life only ever gives you the next step. People ask, how do I stop overthinking? The answer is brutal in its simplicity. Act. Do something. Anything. Thinking has its place, but it was never meant to be a cage. It's meant to be a tool, and tools are meant to build, not bind. So much of what you fear may never even come to pass. Worry is the interest you pay on a debt you might not owe. But every moment you waste circling that worry is a moment you could spend constructing the bridge to cross it. Shift your eyes from the storm to the shore. The boat will steer where you are looking. There is power in being here now, not tomorrow, not 10 steps ahead. Here, your hands can move. Your feet can take you somewhere new. Your tongue can speak the words that free you from assumptions, misunderstandings, stale conflicts. Solutions are always immediate because they exist in the present, not in the labyrinth of your imagined future. When you begin to focus on solutions, something curious happens. The world outside starts to reshape itself around your clearer mind. People respond to your energy. Doors open that you didn't see before. Problems that felt insurmountable shrink in the light of decisive action. And you see, you were never meant to be a victim of your circumstances. You are not here to nurse old wounds forever. You are here to choose, to pivot, to create. A single solution, carried out imperfectly, is worth more than 1,000 well-crafted complaints. The next time your mind pulls you down into the spiral, pause. Ask, what can I do right now? Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Do it, however small it may seem. The solution is not far away. It lives at your fingertips, in your breath, in the quiet courage to act. Stay awake to this truth. Life does not reward those who admire the problem. It moves with those who lean in, roll up their sleeves, and become part of the answer. Focus not on the weight that holds you down, but on the next step that lifts you up. And then the next, and the next. Before you know it, the problem is behind you, and you are alive, moving forward, free. The mind is a fascinating creature, a restless animal pacing the cage it built for itself. It clings to problems like a child clutching a tattered blanket, not because it loves the discomfort, but because the discomfort is known. Familiar pain is safer than unfamiliar freedom. Have you ever sat alone at night, thoughts swirling like leaves in the wind, each one whispering, "What if? What then? Why did this happen?" The mind feeds on these questions because they keep it occupied, keep it alive in its own noisy kingdom. Most people live their entire lives like this, loyal to their problems. They wear them like badges, share them like stories at a campfire, bonding over mutual struggles that never really change. There's an odd camaraderie in complaining. It feels like doing something, when in truth, it's only deepening the groove the mind loves to run its wheels along. One problem leads to another, and soon the entire life is a tapestry of tangled threads. Why does the mind do this? Because to solve a problem means to let it die. And to let a problem die means to stand in the empty space it leaves behind. For a mind addicted to noise, that emptiness feels unbearable. The silence of peace is too loud for a mind accustomed to worry. So, instead of stepping into the unknown, the mind drags out the drama, poking at old wounds, replaying old scenes, inventing new fears to keep the familiar cycle spinning. Look around and you'll see how widespread this is. Entire conversations revolve around who is more burdened, who is more tired, who is more misunderstood. It's almost a contest. Who can gather the biggest pile of problems and hold it up for the world to see? And yet, under that weight, they wonder why they can't move forward. The truth is simple. The more you focus on what's wrong, the more of what's wrong you find. The mind is a master at confirmation. It will find evidence for whatever it believes is true. If it believes life is a constant struggle, it will twist every event to fit that script. But sit with this thought. The mind's addiction to problems is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Just because you inherited a restless mind does not mean you must obey it. You can watch it spin its webs without getting stuck in them. This is where freedom begins. The moment you recognize that your mind is not you. It is a tool, a magnificent one, but also a trickster. Left unchecked, it will find problems where there are none, just to keep itself busy. What does it mean to step outside this trap? It begins with awareness. Notice the next time your mind latches onto something. A worry about tomorrow's meeting, a regret from years ago, a fear of what someone thinks. Observe how quickly it balloons into a whole narrative. Feel how your body tenses, how your breath shortens, how your mood shifts under the weight of an invisible burden. And then, instead of wrestling with the thought, just see it. See it as a habit, not a truth. You can laugh at it if you like. That's one of the most disarming things you can do. Laugh at the mind's desperate need to feel important by having something to fix. See how dramatic it becomes, how convincing its arguments sound. It will tell you that you must solve this problem by thinking about it more and more. But you know better now. Thinking endlessly about a problem is not the same as solving it. In fact, it often keeps the solution out of reach. The mind clings to problems because it is afraid of the stillness that solutions bring. When you solve something, you are free. And freedom is frightening for a mind that wants to stay busy. In the silence of a solved life, the mind has to confront its own emptiness, its own lack of purpose, without something to fix. But that emptiness is not a void to fear. It is the fertile ground where clarity, joy, and creativity grow. Next time you feel that familiar pull, the mind replaying an older argument, fixating on what went wrong. Pause. Ask yourself, is this real now, or is it just the mind doing what it loves to do? You will be surprised how often you find that the monster under the bed was only a shadow of your own making. In that moment, you can choose. You can feed the problem, giving it more of your energy, more of your life, or you can gently turn away, redirecting your gaze to the quiet possibility, waiting just beyond the noise. Problems will always knock at the door. The question is whether you invite them in for tea or let them pass like a cloud across the sky. The mind's tendency to cling to problems is strong, but your awareness is stronger. The next time it grips you, loosen your hold. In that small space, you reclaim your power. And slowly, the habit weakens. Slowly, the mind learns it does not need its old toys to feel alive. It can rest. And in that rest, you finally live. Overthinking is the mind's favorite illusion. It feels like progress, like diligence, like care, but so often it is just a clever disguise for avoidance. The mind convinces you that if you just turn the problem over one more time, replay the scene in your head once more, revisit every word spoken, every angle of possibility, you will arrive at an answer. But what really happens? Hours pass, days even, and the problem remains bigger, more tangled, and far more intimidating than when it first appeared. The truth is, problems feed on attention, the way fire feeds on oxygen. The more you fan the flames with your thoughts, the hotter and wilder they burn. Yet this is what most people do. They sit in a room with their mind, like being locked in a tiny box with a broken radio that won't stop replaying the same static. And the more they try to fix the static by listening harder, the louder it seems to get. What makes overthinking so seductive is its appearance of usefulness. It feels like you're doing something. You might feel responsible, diligent, even mature, because you care enough to worry deeply. You tell yourself it's wise to examine every possibility, every hidden danger. But underneath that appearance is a trap. When the mind overthinks, it replaces action with rumination. You feel busy, yet you go nowhere. Look back at your life. Think of the moments that changed things for you. Were they the result of nights, lying awake, chewing on what-ifs, crafting perfect scenarios in your mind? Or did they come from a moment of courage, a decision made, an imperfect step taken into uncertainty? More often than not, solutions come not from perfect plans, but from imperfect moves. A conversation that felt clumsy but cleared the air. A choice that wasn't fully thought out but opened doors you couldn't have seen by sitting still. Overthinking is a sign of mistrust. Mistrust in life, in the unfolding of things, in your own capacity to respond to the unknown. The mind demands guarantees. It wants to know how it all ends before it even begins. But life does not bargain in certainties. It speaks in movement, in experiments, in actions that may fail, but lead you somewhere new. This is why problems become monstrous in the echo chamber of thought. They grow teeth and claws. They take on shapes that are far more terrifying than reality ever was. An unspoken worry in your mind becomes a beast. When spoken aloud or met with a small action, it shrinks back to the ordinary thing it always was, manageable, often laughable. Every moment you spend overthinking is a moment you are not solving. You are watching the door, wondering if it's locked, rather than simply turning the handle So many solutions are hidden on the other side of a single tiny action. An email sent, an apology spoken, a question asked, a plan started badly, but honestly. But the mind hates this because action ends the cycle of worry. Once you act, the mind must quiet down. And for a mind addicted to noise, that feels like death. What can you do? First, notice the spiral. Feel it in your body. Overthinking is not just mental. It tightens your chest, knots your stomach, clouds your breath. Let that be your signal. When you feel the familiar grip, stop. Ask, what small thing can I do right now to meet this? Not the perfect thing, not the guaranteed solution, just one small nudge toward resolution. You will find that movement, any movement, breaks the spell. One action, however awkward, shatters the illusion of being stuck. You realize the bars of the cage were made of paper all along. The more you move, the weaker the old pattern becomes. The mind starts to learn that life rewards movement, not endless analysis. There's a deep freedom in this shift. You become lighter. You stop demanding that every step be certain and every outcome be guaranteed. You begin to trust that solutions reveal themselves along the way, not in the prison cell of your thoughts. When your mind wants to drag you into its labyrinth, remember, your power is not in wrestling with the shadows inside it. Your power is in stepping outside, into the open air of imperfect, honest action, into the next small thing that can be done, here and now. No more monsters under the bed. No more static from the broken radio. Just you and life, unfolding as it always does, step by step, solution by solution, in the clear air beyond thought. Shift of attention. It sounds so simple, almost too light to hold any real power. But in truth, it is the quiet lever that moves the heaviest burdens. Most people don't see it, because they are too busy staring at the locked door to notice that the window beside it is wide open. The mind is a master of fixation. It loves to latch on to what's wrong, what's missing, what's broken, and it will drag your entire awareness there like an anchor dropped in the mud. When you wake up in the morning, you have a choice so subtle that most never realize they're making it. You can meet the day through the narrow keyhole of problems, the unpaid bills, the unanswered messages, the worries about who thinks what and why. Or you can tilt your head slightly and look through a wider frame. What can be done? What can I create today? What step can I take that frees me, even just a little? This shift is not magical thinking. It is not pretending there are no problems. It is simply the understanding that energy flows where attention goes. And you get more of whatever you feed. Imagine two people standing in the same storm. One curses the rain, scowls at the clouds, and stays inside, complaining about the weather, soaking in resentment. The other puts on a coat and steps outside, feeling the cold water on their skin, maybe finding beauty in the dark sky, maybe deciding to plant seeds in the soft, wet earth. The storm is the same. The experience is not. The difference is where they put their attention. Much of life's pain is amplified by the mind's insistence on staring at the closed door. Why did this happen to me? Why won't they change? Why is this so unfair? There is no end to these questions, because they are questions with no answers, only echoes that feed on themselves. But to turn your head slightly, shift the beam of your awareness, and suddenly the same situation becomes fertile ground for something new. Given what is, what can I do? This is the question that opens doors. Freedom does not come from waiting for all your problems to disappear, because they won't. Life will always hand you new puzzles. Real freedom is knowing that your power lies not in controlling every twist and turn, but in choosing where to place your precious, limited attention. In the moment you understand this, you start to see that your mind is not an enemy, but a servant. It follows your gaze. If you fixate on obstacles, it will faithfully build mountains out of pebbles. If you focus on solutions, it will find paths you didn't even know were there. This is why so many people, even with good intentions, remain stuck. They believe they must first conquer all their negative thoughts before they can act, before they can feel good again, before they can live. But they don't see that the very fight is what feeds the shadows. You do not defeat darkness by wrestling it. You defeat darkness by turning on the light. Think about how children play. A child falls and scrapes a knee. There may be tears, but the next moment they see something interesting. A flower, an insect, a puddle, and their entire world shifts. Pain is real, but it does not have to be the only reality. Adults forget this. They cling to the scrape, replaying the fall 1,000 times, telling the story over and over, building an identity around it. The child simply moves on. Attention shifted, pain dissolves. This is not to say you should ignore real issues, but there is a vast difference between acknowledging a problem and marrying it. When you linger on what's wrong without lifting your gaze to what might make it right, you make the problem your home. Life is too short to live in a house built of complaints. When you feel yourself slipping back into the habit of staring at the mess, pause, take a breath, ask, where else could I look? What tiny act could you do that would pull your focus towards something useful? Maybe it's a small decision, a call, an honest word spoken that clears confusion. Maybe it's simply stepping outside, taking a walk, letting the mind loosen its grip so a fresh thought can find you. Liberation is not dramatic. It is often as ordinary as choosing what you will think about for the next moment. A single degree of shift, over time, changes your entire course. The locked door remains, but you're not standing there anymore. You're already halfway through the open window, tasting the air of what's possible. Pay attention to your attention. Guard it. Guide it, gently but firmly, toward the place where life is not an endless riddle, but an unfolding answer. Shift your gaze even slightly, and the whole world tilts with you. What once seemed impossible slowly dissolves, and what remains simple, actionable, real. Action over analysis. This is where the gap closes between the life you wish for and the life you're actually living. So many people live and die trapped in the space between what they think and what they do. They build castles in their minds, plans stacked upon plans, contingency mapped on top of contingency, imagining every angle, every risk, every perfect outcome. Yet, when you look at their days, you find them sitting still, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. The tragedy is not that they didn't dream big enough, but that they never stepped forward at all. The mind is endlessly creative when it comes to excuses for inaction. It says, I'm not ready yet. I need to think it through a little more. I'll wait for a sign. I'll wait until I feel braver, stronger, more certain. But the truth is, certainty never arrives before the first step. It grows out of movement. It's the spark that appears only when you strike the flint of action. Until then, it's only theory. And theory is weightless. It lifts no burdens, opens no doors, feeds no mouths. Consider how nature works. A river does not pause to measure each stone before flowing around it. A tree does not ask whether the soil is perfect before sending out its roots. Life moves first. It figures things out along the way. This is not recklessness, it is the deep wisdom that the mind, with all its calculations, often forgets. You do not need to know everything to do the next right thing. Think of any problem you're facing now. Maybe it's a conversation you're avoiding, a task you've postponed for weeks, a project that feels too large, too complex, too full of unknowns. Notice how your mind circles it endlessly, imagining all the ways it might go wrong, rehearsing 1,000 scenarios. And yet, if you were to take even the smallest action, send the message, write the first sentence, make the call, the problem would shift instantly. Suddenly you have new information. The fog lifts a little. The monster shrinks. When you act, you break the trance. Action interrupts the mind's endless loop. It brings you into your body, into the present moment where life actually happens. The mind hates this because here it must surrender its throne. It can no longer rule you with abstract fears when you are too busy moving to listen to its chatter. So many people waste precious time waiting to feel motivated. They believe action follows feeling. But more often, feeling follows action. You stand up first, you move first, and the energy comes to meet you on the road. A body in motion gathers momentum. It's true for physics, and it's true for your life. Action is also honest in a way thinking never is. Thoughts can be polished, edited, made to look good to yourself and others. But when you do something, reality answers back. You see what works and what doesn't. You find out what's true. Maybe you fail. Good. Failure is a teacher. It reveals more in a day than overthinking does in a year. Each failure cuts away what doesn't fit and leaves you clearer for the next attempt. This is how solutions come alive. They are not discovered in armchairs or in endless inner debates. They are carved out by your hands, your voice, your feet moving through the world. They take shape in the mess, the stumbles, the awkward beginnings. Action is humbling. It reminds you that the perfect outcome you imagined rarely matches reality. But it also shows you that reality is more flexible than you thought. It bends when you push. It responds when you engage. Where in your life have you been stuck in the loop of analysis? What problem have you been feeding with thought instead of starving with action? What is one small thing you could do today, not tomorrow, to disrupt that loop? Not the whole plan, not the grand solution, just a single imperfect step. There is a quiet magic in this shift. The moment you do something, no matter how small, you declare to life, I am not just a thinker, I am a participant. And life answers. New doors appear, doors you could not see from the comfort of endless contemplation. Problems thrive in stagnant minds. They wither in the presence of movement. When in doubt, act. When afraid, act gently, but act. When confused, act anyway. Even clumsy steps clarify the path more than perfect maps drawn in your head ever could. It is not what you know that changes your life. It's what you do. And every time you choose action over analysis, you step closer to the life waiting for you beyond thought. There is a secret about problems that most people overlook. Many of them are phantoms, shadows cast on the wall of the mind, larger and darker than the thing that created them. When you stand in the present moment, really stand in it, you discover that so much of what you fear dissolves when met with clear, immediate action. Solutions do not come from endlessly dissecting the problem, but from stepping into the only place they can ever exist, here and now. Look at how the mind works when it clings to a problem. It drags you back into the past, replaying scenes you can no longer change, analyzing every word, every action, every regret. Or it catapults you into the future, into um, uh, uh, imagining worst-case scenarios that have not yet arrived and often never will. Between these two tugs, the mind becomes a theater of suffering, a place where ghosts from yesterday and monsters from tomorrow argue endlessly over what you should feel right now. But when you pull your attention back into the present, this breath, this room, this single small task you can do with your hands, the ghosts vanish, the monsters fade. You discover that the problem often lives only in your thoughts, while the solution lives in your next choice, your next step, your next word spoken in honesty. There is a simple, humbling truth. The present moment rarely holds as much pain as the mind predicts. Sit with your fear for a moment and ask, what is wrong right now in this breath? You may find that the catastrophe you feared is not here. The argument you replayed does not exist in this second. The burden you dread is just an image, not a reality pressing down on your shoulders. In this small space of awareness, you can act, and the moment you act, you take your power back from the ghost. Solutions are alive. They are not theories. They are living things that take form through doing. The conversation you keep postponing is a phantom until you pick up the phone and speak the truth. The debt you dread is a nightmare until you open the bill, face the numbers, make a plan, and take the first step to clear it. The decision you avoid is a storm until you sit quietly, name what you really want, and move toward it. Even if your voice shakes, action brings you home to now. And now is the only place anything changes. People waste years hoping for perfect conditions, a perfect mood, the perfect solution to reveal itself. But life does not work like that. It gives you no guarantees except this. You can do something now, however small, and that something will shift the landscape in ways you cannot predict while sitting still. There is an honesty in the present moment. It does not flatter you with excuses or stories. It shows you what is in your control and what is not. It frees you from the noise that says, what if? What then? What about them? And brings you back to, what can I do right here with what I have? This is the birthplace of solutions. To live in the present is not some lofty spiritual idea. It is the most practical, clear-eyed way to solve problems. A mind lost in past or future will find problems everywhere, because problems thrive in imagination, but the body lives now. The breath moves now. Your hands can only build something now. And when you place your trust in this simple truth, you find that life itself becomes more manageable. Try it. Next time your mind spins a web of dread, pause. Ask yourself, what small action could I take in the next 5 minutes that would make this even slightly better? Maybe it's an email, a list, a conversation, a moment of rest, a walk to clear your head. This single act is worth more than 1,000 hours of worry, because solutions are shy creatures. They come out when you are willing to meet life where it actually is, not where you fear it might be. The mind wants complexity. It wants to prove its worth by making things tangled and dramatic. But life, when met in the present, is often simple, not always easy, but simple. This step, this breath, this small effort, repeated day after day, until the shape of your reality shifts under your feet. Remember this: your problems shrink in the light of present action. They grow monstrous only in the shadows of overthinking. So when fear comes knocking, meet it not with more thoughts, but with your presence. And then, with a single clear step forward, here and now is where the phantom dissolves and the real path begins. Your inner state is the architect of your outer world. Many people think their circumstances shape their mind, but more often than not, it is the mind that shapes the circumstances it meets. If you approach life convinced that every door is locked, every face is hostile, every task too hard, you will find endless proof that you are right. The world will mirror your expectations because you meet it with the eyes of a prisoner. But if you shift your focus from what's broken to what can be built, if you stand in the middle of the same old mess with a mind tuned to solutions, the world cannot help but respond. Most of us live unaware of this simple truth. We wake up and hand our power over to whatever mood greets us first. If fear wakes up with you, the day is filtered through fear. If you wake up remembering yesterday's failures, then failure casts a shadow over everything you try to do. Yet, you don't have to live like this. You can choose to become the guardian of your own inner state, to decide over and over where your attention will rest. And this decision is not abstract. It has real consequences. It changes what you see, how you act, and how people and events respond to you in return. Look at how a solution-oriented mind changes the texture of a single day. A problem-thinking mind wakes up and says, "Why bother? There's too much to fix. Nothing ever works." It sits in bed staring at the ceiling, gathering every reason not to move. The hours pass like ghosts, wasted. The same mind, gently turned toward solutions, wakes up and asks, "What small thing can I do today to make this lighter?" Maybe it's a tiny thing, cleaning a corner of a room, making a single phone call, writing down a messy plan. That small thing shifts the energy. The mind tastes its own power. Solutions breed more solutions. Like a muscle that grows stronger every time you use it, a solution-focused mind becomes sharper, more agile, more able to meet life as it comes. This shift is not about pretending problems do not exist. They do. But your power lies in how you meet them. If you meet them in despair, you feed them. If you meet them with curiosity, "What can I do with this?" you shrink them. Life bends to match the tone you set inside yourself. This is not just poetry. It is practical reality. People respond to the energy you carry. Sit in a room full of people complaining and watch how easily they draw each other into the same gloomy orbit. Then watch how one person, calmly steering the talk toward what might help, what might heal, quietly shifts the whole mood of the room. You have felt this too, though you may not have named it. The quiet magnetism of someone who lives more in solutions than excuses. That magnetism is not luck. It is cultivated inside. Your inner state speaks louder than your words. It shapes your tone of voice, the way you stand, the courage in your eyes. It is why two people can try the same thing and get very different results. One brings desperation, the other brings calm determination. One leaks self-doubt, the other radiates a quiet belief that obstacles are just pieces of a puzzle that can be solved. The world bends toward the energy that solves, not the energy that complains. Look at your own life and test this for yourself. Think of a time when you met a challenge with fear. How did things unfold? Now remember a time you stepped forward with a clear mind, even if you were uncertain. Did you notice how doors seemed to appear? How help arrived, often from unexpected places? This is not magic. It is your inner state working as a lens through which reality takes its shape. Cultivating this state is a practice. It is not something you switch on once and forget. It is a habit of returning again and again to the question, what is possible here? What can I do now? When you fail, you do not turn that failure into a permanent story. You ask, what did this teach me? How does this help me solve it better next time? This is how a mind becomes resilient. So much of what you think is fate is simply habit. A habit of where you place your mind. Change that habit, and you change your life's terrain. Problems lose their bite when met by a mind that does not flinch, but rather leans in, looking for the next lever, the next opening, the next gentle push that changes the shape of things. Your inner state is a garden. You can feed it weeds of worry, or you can feed it seeds of action and possibility. Every day, in countless small moments, you choose. And every choice plants something. One day, you look around, and the world around you looks strangely like the garden you have been tending all along. There is a quiet strength in becoming a creator instead of a complainer. A power so subtle that most people overlook it their entire lives. Complaining feels easy, almost natural. It asks nothing of you but your words and your discontent. It gives you a fleeting sense of righteousness. Look at all these problems. Look how unfair life is. Look how much I carry. In that moment, you feel seen, at least by yourself. You feel justified in staying where you are, because the world, after all, is so flawed. But in the secret spaces of your mind, you know this truth. Complaining changes nothing. It is the sound of wheels spinning in mud, the illusion of movement without progress. Each complaint repeated is another brick in the wall you build around yourself, a fortress of excuses that keeps out possibility. And still, many choose to live behind those walls, trading their freedom for the familiar prison of blame. To step out from that prison means to abandon the comfort of pointing at what's wrong. It means picking up the humble tools of the Creator: curiosity, courage, action. The Creator does not pretend problems don't exist, far from it. The Creator sees the problem clearly, but refuses to let it be the final word. Where the complainer stops, the Creator begins. Where the complainer says, someone should fix this, the Creator whispers, what can I do, however small? This shift from complaining to creating is the mark of quiet power. It's the moment you stop waiting for permission, for the government, the boss, the family, the world to change, and you look at your own hands, your own voice, your own feet, and you move. Maybe you cannot fix everything, getting bigger, but You can fix something. You can clean your corner of the world. You can lift a burden for someone near you. You can speak a truth that frees you both. And in doing so, you realize you are not powerless at all. You never were. People who live in solutions are not louder than complainers. They are usually quieter. You will find them working when no one notices, trying things when others are still arguing about whether it's worth trying. They waste no time proving how hard life is. They spend their time discovering how it might be made lighter, even if only by an inch. And when others gather to swap grievances like old coins, the creator slips away. Not because they are blind to the struggle, but because they'd rather put their energy where it grows something. Being a creator does not mean your life becomes perfect. It means you meet imperfection with movement. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become an active partner with reality. If the bridge is broken, you gather wood and start patching it. If the door is locked, you find a window, a back gate, a way around. If someone says you can't, you answer with action, not argument. This way of living does not always bring applause. In a world that often bonds over complaint, the quiet creator can seem naive or unrealistic. But in truth, they are the most grounded person in the room. They are the only ones doing what actually works, using their limited time and energy to change what they can instead of feeding what they can't. Look at the lives you admire, the people who built, healed, transformed. They did not do it by perfect conditions. They did it while conditions were imperfect, while critics muttered, while obstacles stood in the way. They did it by being too busy creating to waste breath complaining. Ask yourself, where in your life have you been a complainer when you could be a creator? What problem have you polished with your complaints until it shines like a trophy, proof that you cannot move forward? What if, instead of adding one more word to that story, you chose to do one small thing that nudges it toward resolution? This is not glamorous work. It is not dramatic. Sometimes it's as small as cleaning your desk when the chaos of your mind feels too big to handle. Sometimes it's sending an honest message that lifts the weight of misunderstanding. Sometimes it's learning a skill, planting a seed, literal or not, that tomorrow might grow into something you cannot yet see. The complainer's power ends at their tongue. The creator's power begins when they close their mouth and open their hands. Life bends for the one who moves with it, who chooses to shape it in small, persistent strokes, day after day. So be that person. Quietly, stubbornly, become the one who does instead of dwells. Choose to make rather than moan. In this way, you become free, not because the world is perfect, but because you have learned the simple, ancient secret. You are here to build, not blame. And in the building, you find your true strength. When you step back and gather these thoughts, the restless mind clinging to problems, the trap of overthinking, the gentle art of shifting your attention, the choice of action over endless analysis, the living power of the present moment, the truth that your inner state shapes your outer world, and the quiet freedom of becoming a creator instead of a complainer. You see a single thread running through it all. Your life bends where your focus goes. Most people stand frozen at the mouth of their problems, rehearsing what's wrong like a mantra that keeps them safe from change. But you are not here to stay frozen. You are not here to be a monument to old complaints or to build shrines to obstacles that could vanish with a single step forward. You are here to meet life as it is, raw, unfinished, imperfect, and to shape it, gently but firmly, with your own hands, your own breath, your own willingness to move. No one can promise you a life without struggle. But the truth is, struggle is not your enemy. Stagnation is. Fear is not your greatest burden. Inaction is. The monsters you fear most lose their teeth the moment you stop feeding them your thoughts and start feeding them your presence, your decisions, your simple daily courage. In the end, focusing on solutions is not about pretending your problems don't exist. It is about refusing to worship them. It is the stubborn, hopeful, practical act of asking, what can I do right now with what I have? And then doing it. Badly at first, imperfectly always, but with a heart that knows that one small step beats 1,000 perfect plans locked in your head. This is your quiet revolution. To turn your mind into an ally, your moments into movements, your complaints into seeds of action. To be a little braver, a little clearer, a little more awake than the version of you who would rather stay stuck. Take the lesson with you. The next time your mind drags you into the shadows, remember, you hold the lamp. Shift your focus. Take the step. Breathe into the solution and watch how life softens in your hands when you choose to shape it instead of fear it. Problems are many, but so are possibilities. The path is not waiting somewhere far away. It is right under your feet, appearing with every step you dare to take forward.